This episode of Let's Find Out with Diego is sponsored by Moonlight Monster Media. Please visit moonlightmonstermedia.com today.
From Moonlight Monster Media comes Dustin Grammer's debut as an author. Dirt Road Tales of Horror. Dirt Road Tales of Horror takes you on a terrifying ride through the southeastern United States, where ghosts, murderers, nightmares, and beasts lurk in the shadows, awaiting any brave or unfortunate enough to travel through their nocturnal domain. Prepare to be gripped by fear and fright should you dare decide to traverse these haunted and unhallowed roads.
Are you curious about the unknown, the unexplainable? Do you find yourself intrigued by the mysterious and paranormal side of our world? Join us on an adventure into the world of inexplicable discoveries and investigations that may someday give us the final answer as to what may be behind the veil of reality. The borders of space and time have opened once again, and transmitting from the mountains of West Virginia, it's time once again for Let's Find Out with Diego. The universe is waiting for you.
The borders of space and time have opened once again and transmitting from the mountains of West Virginia. It's another episode of Let's Find Out with Diego. Thank you for taking this journey with me. On this episode of Let's Find Out, Louisiana Spirits Paranormal Investigations has proudly served the state of Louisiana for 2 decades, embodying a bold reputation as the oldest, most respectful, data-driven professional and trusted team in the region. Their illustrious history includes featured appearances on TV shows, collaborations with renowned paranormal hosts, local news stations, newspapers, and investigative teams from the Travel Channel and Netflix. Comprised of serious professionals and analytical minds, they are dedicated to the thorough investigation and research of paranormal phenomena. All this plus more. Please welcome to Let's Find Out a new friend to our show, case manager and lead investigator, Michelle. Michelle, my friend, welcome to Let's Find Out. I'm happy to finally have you on the show. I've been waiting for a while now.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. Thanks for having us. Yeah, it's been a little bit. We talked about it, so I'm excited that it's finally here.
Me too. And as I was doing more research and learning more about your group, especially on your website, we follow each other on Facebook and all the socials. And what a very busy team you have, because it's just not one chapter. We have various chapters, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We have 5 chapters throughout the state of Louisiana, so we're all independently, each of our chapters kind of doing our own thing at any given time.
Talking about that, because you're all over Louisiana, you have a great team of professionals. And I'm going to ask you this question because normally I know a lot of people ask, well, how did you start this and that? So I'm going to do something. I'm going to go a little bit backwards here. So in the state of Louisiana, what is it about that state that I would say it's one of the most haunted states in the here in America? Stories about encounters that covers places like plantations, historical hotels, bridges, and graveyards. And I probably answered my own question, but what is it about Louisiana that attracts all that paranormal energy? Are people bringing it with them, or has it always been there?
I think it's probably both. You know, we have New Orleans here, which, you know, has a lot of culture. We have the voodoo culture. We have, you know, all of that, which invokes a lot of the paranormal. We do have a lot of cemeteries throughout the state. We do have a lot of plantations, you know, and a lot of those places have history to them. You know, not all of it is good. Some of it's bad. And with that holds a lot of energy. And so, you know, with energy, we get a lot of spirit activity, and there is a ton of it in our state.
Yeah, no kidding. And one of the things that I found very interesting is because there's a Hollywood version of Louisiana and there's a realistic version of Louisiana. You being probably not originally from there, when you arrived there, Were you surprised how different it was, how it's presented in the media?
So yeah, so I'm not from here originally. So when I did get here for the first time, it just in general was a culture shock for me. I was not expecting it. It's very different than what I expected. Um, but in terms of like the paranormal, I don't think I realized just how much paranormal was here when I got here. You see some of those old movies, what was it, the vampire movies. There's a lot of vampire movies that take place in New Orleans and Anne Rice, and what was it, Interview with a Vampire, took place also here in Louisiana. So I guess I knew, but I didn't really realize how rich the culture was with it until I got here. So I think, yeah, Hollywood probably exaggerates it a little bit, but it still is pretty prominent, which is interesting because we are, Louisiana's really Catholic. I guess there's a lot of Catholicism. We are in the Bible Belt, so there's a lot of that as well. So you have the differences between the very the religion and the Catholicism, and then you have a lot of the paranormal too. So it's interesting how we can have both simultaneously in the state.
And prior to you moving to Louisiana, do you have a history of paranormal
So
experiences or anything like that? Yeah.
yeah, so like I've loved and been around paranormal stuff probably since I was like 2. I just remember having experiences really early on, and I've gotten the opportunity to move and travel all over the United States living. My husband was military. So, we got the chance. I lived in Arizona, so I got to see a lot of that. You have a lot of like the Sedona and a lot of the mysticism out there. And, I got to live in Fort Knox in Kentucky, so really close to Waverly Hills. So I got the opportunity to go there on some occasions. So, yeah, I mean, paranormals has always been a part of my life, and being able to experience it and explore all these different places.
And there's so many places to explore. And speaking of that, your first time investigating, going on actual investigations, did you do that before you moved there, or did it start when you moved to Louisiana?
Oh no, so I mean officially, yeah, when I got here, but no, I remember exploring stuff. I think I got my first like paranormal equipment, like my old K2 meter, back probably in the 90s. I think it was actually one of the ones that electricians were still using. It was one of the really old ones. But so yeah, I would just go out on my own. I thought it would be cool to go to cemeteries, and talk to random things. But with Louisiana Spirits, it was my first official like paranormal investigation with like a team of people around me.
And you have a pretty large team because with the 5 chapters. Now, when those individuals, investigators, and the like join the team or you seek them out, what are the characteristics you're looking for in these investigators?
So, like you said, kind of in the intro, we are very data driven. We debunk. We got our state director, who is also part of my team's our chapter. We got her a shirt that says like the debunking queen. That's our big thing. Like we really, to us, we catch something, some sort of like an EVP or something. We catch that. It's okay. What is it not? Before we say it's paranormal, we really want to debunk it. We really want to do the science, behind all of that. So when we're looking for people to join our team, we're looking for people who are like-minded, who are open, but also kind of skeptical on the same time, who really want to, let's find out what it isn't before we just automatically say, oh my gosh, it's paranormal. And as you said too, we are extremely busy. We're always doing things, always have events going on. So we look for people who are going to be on board with that, who have a lot of availability, who want to join, who are really interested, who are passionate about it just like we are.
And I think it's important also, you mentioned having a balance of different people having different opinions or different way they interpreted the data, especially with skeptics. I've noticed with as long as I've been, I want to say in the field, but with podcasting, also my own life's experiences, that when there comes a time where there's kind of like a conversion when somebody's skeptical and they're maybe not on the fence, but then they become on the fence and then they fall on the other side of the fence.
Yeah.
You've probably seen that hundreds of times. Can you, is it possible? Can you tell us about a time where you did an investigation of perhaps there was an owner or owners that maybe thought it might have not been paranormal, but down the road they're like, oh my goodness, this place is haunted.
Yeah, and I think we've had both. You know, we've had the people that say, "Oh my gosh, our house is definitely paranormal," and then we go in and we say, "Oh, well, you know, you do have all of these open electrical boxes, you know, so you really are getting a lot of that EMF energy in your house, which can lead to, you know, symptoms of hallucinations. Maybe, you know, it's causing you to be paranoid or be emotional." So maybe it's not paranormal. And then we've had on the flip side, you know, we go in and they're like, we don't know. And, you know, we're able to present them with different data that we've collected, you know, EVPs maybe, where they can actually hear something that's going on and have them say, okay, maybe I wasn't a believer before, but we can't really dispute that evidence, you know, because we are so thorough with how we get our evidence. And we really, by the time we give it to the client, we have verified, like, we cannot say it's anything else at that point in time. So I think it's interesting to see them kind of have that realization of, oh, okay, maybe. I'm trying to think of an exact case. I know, and I can kind of speak for myself. You know, while I am a believer, right? It's different when you finally really get to see that really cool piece of evidence where you're like, oh my gosh, like this is it. We were doing a private like home investigation. We do businesses, we do big places, but we also do private homes as well. And we were doing a private home, and I was with a couple of my teammates. There was
So it doesn't surprise me. Now we had a little technical difficulty when somebody gets to a part of a story was real deep, and these things kind of happen. So you dropped out for a few seconds, but go ahead and continue, my friend.
okay, yeah. So we, like I said, we'd been there a few hours. We were getting ready. We were thinking we were going to pack up and leave. So all of a sudden, I hear the male, and he was the only male in the house, call my name. And you know, here in Louisiana, you know, the male, all right, he calls my name. And so I go around the corner, you know, and I say, hey, you know, what do you need? And he said, well, what are you talking about? And I said, well, you just called my name. Like, you said my name. You called my name. And he said, no, I didn't. Well, the other females in the room were all like, yeah, you did. You just called her name. Like, you said her name. So, bizarre. So, you know, I go around and he swears it wasn't him. No, wasn't me, wasn't me. So we watch the cameras because we have the cameras rolling at all times. And we can clearly see the male teammate. He's standing in one of the bedrooms. He's looking at something, I don't know, but you can see him clear as day. His mouth does not move, but you hear his voice call my name. And at the same time, simultaneously, we can hear it on the cameras because we have audio on them, and you can also hear his voice call my name on our audio equipment. So, you know, that was one of those moments where you can clearly see he's not saying it, but he was in disbelief. Like, he was like, that's my voice, but I didn't say that. Like, what's going on? It was the craziest situation because we couldn't, you can't debunk that. Like, there, I have no way of explaining it. I don't know what it was. Is it paranormal? I can't say that 100%, but what I can say is it wasn't him that said it, but it was definitely his voice, and something was calling me back to that bedroom. And ironically, that bedroom was the focus of the investigation. So, needless to say, I never went back to that house again.
Now, I mean, I can understand why you wouldn't want to go back, especially after having that type of experience. Now, before you go to a location, whether it's a home, historical place, a mansion, cemetery, anything like that, do you do research
Yeah.
before you go to these locations, or do you just go in cold just to see how it goes?
So typically we have, especially if it's like a bigger building that we're doing, you know, like a public building, we recently did an old distiller. Well, it's a distillery now. It used to be a restaurant, but we like to do research on the land, on maybe, who owned it, anything in particular that might be of interest that maybe happened in that location. With private homes, it's a little more difficult. We'll get a good history from the owner, but depending on how long they've lived there, they might not have a lot of information on the land and things like that. But we do try and do at least a little bit of information, so we have a heads up of what we're going, like what we're walking into.
And when you're doing the research, how do you pick the locations? Is it like a team vote, or is there something that gets, like, say you read a news article or something on the social media where something happened at that location? How do you pick these locations?
um Gosh, so I think it's a variety of things. So we are fairly well known, I guess, in our area. So we do have a lot of places that we've gone to multiple times because they're just such great locations and we just get really great stuff. So we do a lot of classes. We do paranormal classes there. Some of them, sometimes the people come to us. We are really, really active on all social media platforms. So people see us and they'll, message us and say, hey, we have stuff coming, going on at our house. We want you to come and do our house or our business. Or so it's word of mouth. We get some referrals, like people in the group, might know someone who knows someone, and they reach out. So I think it's a combination of all sorts of things that gets us in here or in the places.
And so, how do you vet these inquiries? So, in a way, like if somebody, I'll say generic term, they call the hotline or email the distro list, and
Yeah.
what do you do first? Do you make contact with the emails and the phone call to make sure they're legit, and try to get as much information as possible?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. If someone sends an inquiry in, one of us will reach out to them. We have, basic questions that we want to ask, what's been going on? Tell me a little bit about, you know, um, yourself. Obviously, we want to ask basic questions. Is anyone in the house? Does anyone, abuse drugs? Some of those things obviously can alter someone's perception of maybe what's going on in their environment. I would say, thankfully, we've been really, really fortunate in that I would probably say 95% of the inquiries we get are really legit people who just are either concerned or scared and are looking for just someone to either tell them that they're okay or validate them in what they're experiencing.
And when you go, let's say, I think it's a very personal thing when you visit someone's residence. People live there's a family or what have you, and it's been my experience that some people I've spoken to, they're legitimately scared of what's going on in there. So, what are the first steps when you go there? I guess ease their nerves a little bit. What do you do to make sure that we're here to help?
Yeah, well, and I think, like you said, first thing is we are here to help, and letting them know that we're going in there to try and figure out what's going on that is potentially not paranormal. We don't want to jump to, oh my gosh, well, there's knocking, well, it has to be a ghost. No. Well, let's make sure there's no tree branches maybe that are hitting your roof. Or let's kind of rule out, do you have any critters in your attic that may be making these sounds? Let's try and figure out maybe what it is that isn't paranormal first. And then if it is paranormal, then we'll kind of go from there. And just letting them know that we're validating them. I get that it's scary. We get that it's scary to not know what's going on in your own house. It's unnerving when your child maybe is telling you that they're seeing something. That's scary. That would be really normal. So letting them know that it's okay. We get it. We know it's scary. Validate their feelings, and then reassure them that we're gonna try and help them figure it out. We're gonna help get to the bottom of it with them. And I think sometimes just having someone in the house that believes them and that doesn't say, oh, well, you're crazy, I think that helps a lot with a lot of these families.
No, and it's a beautiful thing that what your organization does. And during these private residential investigations, Were the owners surprised at what it is that you told them? Like let's say you discounted, the furnace, the HVAC making noise, creaky floors. Were they surprised about some of what you found out?
Yeah, I think some of them are, and sometimes it really can be. And you use the word beautiful, so I'm going to kind of bounce off of that. But sometimes we'll get a homeowner that says, I think I've heard my grandma's voice, and we're able to maybe get some EVPs or to ask some questions. If this is grandma, can you maybe make a noise for us so that we can let her know? And sometimes we might get that response, and for them, it's almost a comfort because we've then been able to let them maybe know that, yeah, that it could just be your grandma that's with you. It doesn't have to be scary. Not everything paranormal is like you see on TV. It's not all demons. Sometimes it's just maybe someone that lived on the land and they're just doing what they've always done. They're not there to hurt you. Maybe they're just trying to get your attention, and maybe it is grandma, and maybe it's the guy down the street. But when we can do that for them and give them some sort of verification that maybe it is a loved one, or something special like that, that's really beautiful, and that's really validating to them.
You are 100% correct, because sometimes I just want to make sure that you're taking care of the home, something they work hard to build, and make sure you're respecting the property, and then they'll respect you. You can coexist in a very peaceful way. Now, because we mentioned something also because of Hollywood or the movies, and I
Yeah.
sent you this link not probably a few days ago, and you already kind of knew already. I thought I was going to get you on something, but you already knew about it. Nicolas Cage. Okay, so
Mm,
he once owned a home
mm-hmm. He
down in
did.
the French. This is great because it took me a while to warm up to Nicolas Cage. I didn't like him when I first saw him, but now he grew on me. He's great. It's in the French Quarter of New Orleans, and I'm gonna butcher the name of this, even though I took French in school. The
Okay, you
Oh my,
you can say you can say it. Try it.
I'm gonna try it.
Uh-huh.
La Laurie Mansion.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yep, you got it right. I have a
did
very interesting story with this. It's so interesting that you bring this up.
right. So I was surprised, but not surprised, because when I sent you the link to that news article I saw, and at that time the house was on the market, and it has a is a it's a mansion. It has a historic. I
Hmm.
guess they could say some gruesome events played out within its walls, and it seems that for some reason it was very well sought out to be purchased. Now you told me it's under contract, but you do have a story about that.
I do. I do. So this will be another one of these crazy things, but so I made you say the name because I won't say it. This is a place that I made the accident, and I'll say accident, I guess, of going to a couple of years ago. And immediately after had a series of really, really terrible events happen. Like, I went to that place, and then immediately the next day, I had a couple of friends, like, out of the blue, call me and say, look, we can't be friends anymore. I don't know why. I just was compelled to say that. I was younger at the time, like way too young for it, but I ended up going to the ER. They thought I was having a heart attack. Really, really terrible things immediately after. And for some reason, I just thought, you know what? I'm going to go and I'm going to delete all the pictures I have and took of that place because I didn't ask permission. I just took a bunch of pictures, and immediately bad things happened. As soon as all of those pictures were deleted, I I felt better immediately. I was able to be released from the hospital. My friends called me back and were like, you know what? That was really silly. I don't know why I did that. We're going to be friends again. Um, so since then, I've had a really healthy respect for that residence. We were just as a team in New Orleans last weekend. It was probably maybe a 2-minute walk from where we were staying. I won't look at it, won't go near it. I have, it was a really crazy experience. I can't explain it. Don't know if it was paranormal or coincidental, but yeah, there's something about that house and its history that, has some bad stuff going on.
It seems so, because now, is that the first time you've had that kind of experience by taking pictures of a location?
Yeah. Yeah, I'd never experienced anything like that before. And like I said, I've been doing things like this my whole life. I've been on this team specifically, um, gosh, over 2 years, never. And I've been in a variety of places. Like I've been to the famous well-knowns, I've been to homes, I've been to just regular places, and I have never experienced anything quite like that place.
Wow. I mean, I'm still thinking about what you just said. Now we can speculate. Um,
Yeah.
with Nicolas Cage,
Hmm.
I don't know what drew him to purchase this mansion, and I can understand the Hollywood lifestyle, but maybe do you think
Yeah.
that once he purchased it and staying there a few nights here and there, that might have influenced him to say, I gotta sell this damn thing.
Yeah, I mean, I've never taken the time to really look at, like for him and looking at when he bought it and then looking at a chain of events for him, like, and wondering if anything, like what happened to me happened to him. Like, did he, suddenly fall off the map in Hollywood? Did he stop making movies? Did he go through a divorce? Did any bad things happen to him? And I do know that he didn't spend a whole lot of time there. And it's beautiful and it's big, and there's no reason why someone who purchased it wouldn't want to, unless of course they bought it for its history and were curious, or didn't know and then got in there and was like, I don't feel right here, I think I need. But he held on to it for quite a while before he sold it, so I don't know.
It could have been a mix of both things that you said. For the historical value, then maybe once he moved in there, he's like, yeah, not so sure about this. Maybe a little buyer's remorse, but and I don't know real estate law very well. I don't know law at all, really. I'd be lying if I said I did. But is there a law or some sort of something in the paperwork where they had to divulge that a house is potentially haunted or something really bad happened there?
And I'm not sure about Louisiana real estate law, but I do know in some states they do have like laws that state if a death or a murder specifically occurred on a property, they do have to disclose that. I don't know if I don't think that applies to the paranormal, because I think with the paranormal it's it's up for discussion. You can't prove it, so you can't have a law for something you can't prove. So I would think no for the paranormal, but definitely if there was a murder in Louisiana, if there's a flood, they have to tell you that. So, but no, I think if there's a ghost, no, we can keep that a secret.
Actually, I think it might have worked out well for this location because if it's under contract now, although I don't know the type of person would have purchased it, maybe they'll do it for a tourist attraction of sorts. But it
Mm.
might be one of those places maybe we'll stay away from if we're down there. Not to this extent. Has there been any other historical locations where you had some sort of a similar feeling about it, even as you walk in through that door?
Yeah, I have not in a negative way. But definitely, I've walked into places, historical places, older buildings, and you get a feeling, right? Paranormal, ghosts, all of that. It's energy, right? Energy takes up space, so you can walk into places and you can feel if the energy around it's a little heavier. You can feel if it seems a little uncomfortable. So I think a lot of people can do that, not just people in the paranormal. You can walk in and you can feel when like people kind of give off a bad vibe. Same thing with paranormal. So yeah, I mean, one of the places that we investigate a lot, we've been there probably at least 9 times. It's the St. Landry Parish Courthouse, and we go there all the time because every time we've gone, we still get something, and it's not the same thing every time. We get something different every time, and it's not necessarily bad. It's just really active, and you can feel it. When you walk in, you just kind of feel the energy. So yeah, I think we definitely have, but it's not always a bad thing. It's usually pretty good. Rarely does it go to the really dark side.
Oh, that's good. I think yeah, we talked about it earlier. Not everything paranormal is dark anyway. There's some
Yeah.
great things that can come out of it as well. And sometimes and I'm gonna look into this real quick because sometimes the paranormal, UFOlogy, and cryptozoology, they kind of share a similar paths in a highway. Have you
Hmm.
investigated anything outside what I guess the traditional paranormal? Have you investigated any UFO locations, or any, like say any sightings of Bigfoot or Dogman or werewolves in your area?
Yeah, so in Louisiana, we have what's called the Rougarou. And it's basically like French Cajun for like a werewolf. So it's along the same lines. You know, you see it at night. It's like the werewolf in the woods. There have been some sightings. Now, I personally have never had any encounters like that, but I do know some people that we have worked with who have had some of those types of encounters. So I know it's around here. It's been documented. It's been on TV shows. There's a lot of talk about it. I don't know. Like I said, I've never experienced it, but it's there.
Yeah, for sure. And I think me personally, I'd rather do more paranormal and even do some research on extraterrestrials, but I'm not one to go out into the woods to go and search for a Bigfoot or a skunk ape. I'm not really built for that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, me neither. We have alligators. I'm not trying to go in the swamps and
Yes.
the woods trying a large, werewolf creature at night when I could be eaten by something else along the way. So I'm good with inside buildings. I mean, the occasional cemetery, but I'm more of like an inside paranormal kind of girl.
Yeah, it's kind of I mean, there's some risk to it, but no risk of getting eaten by a spirit. Alligator, almost 100% sure if you step somewhere wrong, it's going to happen. And so
Yep.
you talked about the investigations you've been doing, and you say you've had not long ago you had one, but what's coming up now? What's in the game plan?
Yeah, wow. So we just did a little preliminary last night for a new building. We do a lot of work. So when I mentioned the St. Landry Parish Courthouse, of course, down here in Louisiana, we don't have counties, we have parishes. So one of the things that we do, and we did last year, is we do these events called Spirits of Main Street. And so we've done it in a few different towns. We pick this town, and then we find a couple of historic or paranormal buildings on that main street, and we set up events where people buy tickets, they come, we allow them to use our equipment and do the investigation, and we kind of lead them, and we'll do several of these properties on Main Street. So we have one coming up in August, and the St. Landry Parish Courthouse is part of it. It's Spirits of Main Street, Opelousas. So we have that coming up. We also have, we mentioned earlier different plantations, things like that. We do a lot of plantation homes. So we have one of those coming up in August as well. It's an overnight. Again, it's a class, so we're raising money for our paranormal convention. But we have the people, they'll buy tickets, they'll come, it's like generally we'll do like a joint deal where they pay a certain amount, it pays for a room at the plantation or the Airbnb or whatever it might be, and then like a dinner, so it's like a dinner with spirits, and they get to investigate, eat, we sleep overnight. So those are really fun. We have that coming up. um, we have, let's see, we're doing another event at the distillery. We're doing like another type of class where we're going to be bringing in a lot of people and letting them investigate this really old distillery. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, we're pretty busy. We stay pretty busy all year long. So we always have stuff coming down the pipeline.
You're not kidding, because for the short time that I've been following you now, because we became friends not long ago, that I'm watching your feed, and there's always something constantly something going on. Now,
Yeah.
let's find out. We do have a lot of listeners from Louisiana. If they were to, and not even just my friends and listeners from Louisiana, from the United States, where can they go find out the information of where you're going to go, where these investigations, these conventions, and what it is that you're going to be doing next? How can they find out about that?
Yeah, so like I said earlier, we are really, really active on all of our socials. So we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, and all of those. Our main page is Louisiana Spirits. So from there, you can branch off into, whatever of the 5 locations. My chapter is the Acadiana chapter, but we also have all of the others, and you can join those individual pages as well. So we are always putting all of our information on those socials for all of our events. And usually with that, we include, the link. You can always email our director, Emily at laspirits.com, and she can give information on anything. We have a special page dedicated for our paranormal convention. This is going to be the 2nd year that we're holding that. So they can always go to that. That's Cajun Country Paracon. And that has all the information for dates, locations, vendors, sponsors, all of the different things that we're doing, as well as information on how to purchase tickets.
Excellent. And probably by the time I would love to have you back, you're going to have so many investigations under your belt. I would love to bring you back, and I don't want to tempt the podcast gods anymore because I know we had some issues. If I could bring you back and we can discuss these stories and just take us on your journey for what it is that you've seen.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love that.
Thank you, my friend. This has been another excellent episode of Let's Find Out with Diego. Please check us out on all our social media pages, YouTube, and we're also on Rumble. Like, share, and subscribe. Also, Let's Find Out is now on KGRA Digital Broadcasting. Catch the show on Saturdays at 2 a.m. For more information, please visit KGRADB.com. That's KGRADB.com. Thank you for taking this journey with me. Until next time, my friends.
Let's find out with Diego, the power of Diego Mania. All content for Let's Find Out is property of co-host Diego and is served directly from our servers with no modification, redirects, or rehosting. All celebrity impersonators are paid performers. The impersonated celebrities do not endorse or promote any views or opinions expressed by our guests, co-host Diego, or Let's Find Out. The information shared on Let's Find Out is provided on an as-is basis, with no guarantees of completeness, accuracy, usefulness, or timeliness.